Ken asks, I brewed a red ale today on a Sabco. I oxygenated the wort cold side with 3 milliliters per minute, and I used a Milwaukee DO meter for the first time. It read 10 ppm. So to dive into that, if you have, unless you fleshed it out, what can you tell me about DO meters? So yeah, Ken. So there's a number of things here. One, I don't know that DO meter. I've only used 2 DO meters, but we're using the term DO. We're saying dissolved oxygen. And so what Ken is talking about in this situation is he is going to be injecting, it sounds like pure oxygen through a sintered stone after the heat exchanger. So when the wort is cooled, and then it is going from there into a fermenter. Each yeast strain is going to want a different ppm of oxygen, and or is it parts per billion off the top of my head? I'm mixing it up if I don't. I'm just keep saying parts per million, but if it's billion, to sub it in your brain. It's probably a quick Google search. But different yeast strains are going to prefer different oxygenation rates. That's what I would be shooting for per that strain. 10 sounds like, depending on what you're doing, it could be in range, it could be a little bit high, but that's really what you want to be doing. You really want to be dialing in along that metric. A couple of things about DO meters. First of all, usually they're very expensive. If the DO meter that you have isn't very expensive, I might be concerned about counting on that to reliably measure my situation, whether it be liquid or atmosphere that it's measuring. To my knowledge, there is not a cheap one that does a good job. Otherwise, a lot more people would be using them. Now, I don't know this piece of equipment, but some of the things that you want to make sure that you are doing with DO meters is you need to make sure they are calibrated, to make sure you are getting true readings, okay? That you're getting accurate readings. If all those preconditions are satisfied, if you have a DO meter that is reliable and it is appropriately maintained, big point as well, yeah, you can really start dialing that in. Now, I know some yeast strains will want to be getting a little bit less than that. You said red ale. Off the top of my head, I think a lot of hazy strains can like a lot of O2, potentially even more than what you had there. But typically you'll see stuff wanting maybe a little bit lower as well. So, I mean, that's really the big thing. Make sure that it's reliable. I would love to get a side-by-side test with another DO meter, one that was freshly calibrated, or bring your DO meter over to somebody else's place and do side-by-side readings just so you can get an idea. And yeah, if you want to be dialing up or down that oxygen that's gotten into solution, you can increase, decrease that flow rate. Also know the longer the run between your heat-ex and your fermenter, the more oxygen you're more than likely to get into solution because of increased contact time. And the colder that wort is, or that liquid is, the more readily that gas will go into solution. Okay, colder solutions take up gas at a faster rate. Okay, so again, those DO meters are all about calibration, all about maintaining them exactly how the manufacturer tells you to maintain them. So yeah, and then I would do a little digging into what that specific yeast strain prefers. And if you're not finding satisfactory answers, I would hit up the manufacturer. So yeah, I appreciate the question, Ken.